Brought to you by...
These days, remaking and reimagining classic films has become a staple of the cinematic world. Whenever a studio's well of fresh concepts has seemingly run dry, they drudge up a property from the past and attempt to make their money with it all over again, even if sometimes the original film isn't that old. This trend stemmed from the success of such remakes like 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or 2004's Dawn of the Dead. The fact that these films were commercial successes gave the studio hope that they could then cash in on the popularity of much more legendary films, by drawing in new audiences and representing an old concept with a fresh coat of paint. Remakes have become an epidemic within the horror genre, so much so that we horror fans, for a while at least, began to lose hope that the genre could ever recover. However, at least in my opinion, not all of these retellings were as awful as people make them out to be. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. This holiday season is turning deadly for a group of sorority sisters who have found themselves stranded at their campus house during a snowstorm. These co-eds better watch out, for a vicious killer is on the loose, and he will not care if you have been naughty or nice. However, this time things aren't so cut and dry. We aren't witnessing the birth of the slasher genre or the home invasion thriller, but a retooling of them, pushing them into more vicious territory. Billy has come home for the holidays, with plans to make this another violently Black Christmas. Let me start out by saying that I don't want to go too heavily into spoiler territory with this one. For those who either haven't yet checked this one out, or who maybe have avoided it because they are just sick of remakes. So I will do my best to stay away from anything that relates too heavily to the big reveals. This film sets up its tone right from its opening shots, following a similar pattern to the original, but at a much faster rate, preparing us very subtly for a snappier and more energetic retelling of this infamous story. This film aims to follow along pretty closely to the original narrative, while elaborating on the elements that the original left us wanting to know more about. It brings us a backstory to our creepy home invader Billy that we never had before, and explores his past and motivations in a much deeper way. These additions drive the narrative into some ominously twisted territory, adding elements of childhood trauma and incest into Billy's story that makes you, in some ways, feel a measure of sympathy for him. The girls in the film maintain the depth that they had in the original to some degree, showcasing strained relationships burdened with personal problems and family drama that make each of them, in their own way, cynical toward the holiday season. The core cast of this remake is flooded with a wash of familiar faces from throughout the horror genre, mostly popular names like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Katie Cassidy, and Michelle Trachtenberg. We also get a sweet cameo from Andrea Martin, making a return from her role as Phyllis in the original film, here playing the house mother Miss Mack. The film makes a choice very early on to elevate the violence and gore, creating a harsh contrast to the original. It plays down the slow, eerie build of tension by assuming that we already know and expect Billy to be lurking in the dark, and pushes things for a much faster and aggressive assault on the senses. The important thing here is that it never loses the sense of voyeuristic terror that was made famous by the original film. It just more creatively utilizes it throughout this retelling. I sort of enjoyed the choice not to hide Billy in this one, since we are taking the time to explore more of his past and see more of how he became the madman that he is. it makes sense that we wouldn't hide him away from us. I know a lot of people would call this film utter trash, and some of you would even refuse to acknowledge its existence. For me, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I don't think it holds a candle to the original film, but this is one for me that maintains all the core elements of its predecessor, while still adding into the formula and constructing an entirely new narrative around the bones of what we already knew to expect. For me, this choice took the film to a new place that I wouldn't have normally expected it to go. Sure, this isn't a perfect film by any means. Things are overly ridiculous. Some things happen a little too conveniently and matter-of-factly at times, but it's still a quick-paced and fun holiday slasher romp. I'm giving Black Christmas, or Black Xmas, a B. I can see it now. So many of you are already hovering over that dislike button, ready to unsubscribe and bastardize me into the fires of YouTube hell. Which, I mean, please don't. This is just my personal opinion. Maybe this one technically falls into a guilty pleasure for me. Who can say? It may not be a film that is for everyone, but I do urge everyone who hated this one the first time to give it a second chance. I think it's one that somewhat grows on you, and I think it is a fun and bloody... Hello friends, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to show your support for what we do here, please consider supporting ETF on Patreon. We don't expect much, but every little bit helps us grow and create more content for you all to enjoy. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you are not already, and I will catch you all next time. Thanks for watching.